There's been a lot of talk recently about extending the Bakerloo line into southeast London. Now, as I've said before, this is something that's been proposed so many times that I've honestly lost count, but that's not what I'd like to talk about today. I'd like to talk about the plan to extend the Northern Line into southeast London. It all goes back to 1923 and a company called the Charing Cross, Euston and Hampstead Railway. In the 1920s, the CCEHR, or Hampstead Tube as it was also known, was going a little bit nuts. The CCEHR was part of the empire of underground electric railways of London. It covered, more or less, the Charing Cross branch of the Northern Line up to Archway and Golders Green. In 1913, UERL had bought out another underground line, the City and South London Railway. This covered what's now the City branch of the Northern Line and ran from Euston in the north to Clapham Common in the south. UERL made plans to connect these two lines, and what was more, to extend them. The Hampstead Tube would extend from its current terminus at what's now Embankment, under the river, through Waterloo and connect with the CSLR at Kennington. The CSLR would extend north to Camden Town and join the Hampstead Tube. The combined line would be extended up to Edgware and south to Morden. There was even an idea to extend further north to Watford via Stanmore and Bushey, which nearly got built in the 1940s. The history of all this is very complicated and doesn't have much to do with the subject of this video, but I hope it gives you an idea of where things were in the 20s. UERL was just going crazy with ideas to extend its lines north and south, some of them practical, others not so. In a 1923 report, the London Electric Railway... Wait, hold on, I should explain who they are. So you had the London Electric Railway, which was a company that was in charge of the Hampstead Tube, the Bakerloo Tube, and the Piccadilly Tube. And the London Electric Railway was owned by UERL, who also owned a number of other underground lines that were not London Electric Railway. I know, it's complicated. Anyway, the London Electric Railway produced a report in which they announced another extension. At Kennington, there's a loop line that is used by terminating trains to reverse. The extension would branch off this. It would run from there to Brixton, Clapham Park and Lower Streatham. This would be the first section to be completed if it was built. It would more or less have followed Brixton Road and Brixton Hill. That route at the time was served by the London County Council's trams. In fact, they'd just built a depot at the top of Brixton Hill. But the trams were slow and dilapidated, and the hill was fearsomely steep. I don't think it's unreasonable to assume that UERL intended to take them on and win. They were not an organisation that was afraid of a little healthy competition. It would, incidentally, have been a long way down from the station at Clapham Park at the top of the hill to track level. Assuming this line was a success, the plan was to extend still further, to Norbury, Thornton Heath, North Croydon, South Croydon, and finally Sanderstead. This was an interesting idea. One of the reasons underground railways have historically been unwilling to extend into South London is the fact that there are lots of railways there already, and such was the case even more so back then. That was a very clumsy way of putting it, wasn't it? Anyway, these lines were constructed in the 19th century in the spirit of unfriendly competition by the London Chatham and Dover Railway, the South Eastern Railway, and the London Brighton and South Coast Railway. And frankly, they were often pretty bad. They were designed more to stymie their rivals than to provide a good service. But UERL were fine with the idea of going up against an inefficient service railway. In fact, they were doing just that in North London, with their Edgware extension being in direct competition with a branch of the London and North Eastern Railway. According to the book The Hampstead Tube by Anthony Badsey Ellis, the details of the Sanderstead Tube were not very specific, although he suggests that it probably would have used existing railway tracks. Although as far as I'm aware there has never been a North Croydon station. East, West, South, Central and New, but not North. So I guess that would have been an addition. Well, of course, as we know, the whole thing went no further than a proposal, and it isn't mentioned in subsequent plans. But there is a little coda to this, and it came in 1947. In the 1940s, there had been some truly radical proposals to extend the railway network in London. Most of them didn't get built due to the country being incredibly poor following the Second World War. But some of those ideas evolved. One of them would eventually become the Victoria Line of the London Underground, which opened in 1968. In 1947, the London Passenger Transport Board put forward some proposals based upon those earlier ideas from the County of London plan. One of these was known simply as Scheme D. It would mostly follow the route of the present-day Victoria Line with two deviations. Firstly, there would be a branch in the north off to Waltham Cross. And secondly, in the south it would go beyond the current terminus of Brixton. It would continue along Brixton Road and Brixton Hill. Then it would go through Streatham, Norbury and Croydon. At South Croydon, it would split. One branch would go to Coulston North and the other to Sanderstead. Now, I don't know if this scheme was influenced by the 1920s proposal. It differs in a number of respects. The stations are located differently, and there are more of them. This might be the result of suburban growth and changing commuter patterns in the intervening 2.5 decades. But in any case, it seems to me that we are faced with two possibilities. Either they were influenced by the proposal, or the proposal was good enough that a similar route was devised entirely independently. Whichever one it is, it seems that UERL's idea had merit. Well, I do hope you enjoyed this southbound tale from the tube. If you did, please do leave a like and consider subscribing for more. I would like to thank my donors on Ko-fi, on Patreon and here on YouTube for your generous support. You are the quicker route to my Sanderstead station. And I'll see you all again very soon. Cheerio.